Hi again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Alumni Chats, a weekly podcast featuring alumni from the Department of Broadcasting and Journalism here at Western Illinois University. My name is Buzz Hoon, and I'm the host of the podcast. Today, I have a very special guest, a friend, Phil Weiss, from the class of 1998. Welcome, Phil Weiss.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And you must have run out of people.
Well, I know you offered that if you ever, need to have somebody, I'm available. And I thought at some point in time, with all that Phil Weiss does for this university, this is my one way I can say thank you to him. So, and what's unusual about this is we see each other, I think, on a regular basis and have a lot of interaction. But so when I say please update yourself to the audience, I think it's a little funny because I know where you are and what's going on. You're in fact on the WIU campus, but tell everybody what you're doing, Phil.
So, I'm a producer director with University Television. We handle a little bit of everything when it comes to the university, and we work with the university as a whole. We do everything from a simple lecture to a full blown out graduation ceremony, multi-camera, the whole 9 yards. So it's been a whirlwind of 20 some years here at Western.
And now the most popular man on campus. And we'll get into why I say that in just a bit. But let's talk about your growing up. As I just found out, you're from, which I knew you were from the Galesburg area, but you grew up in Knoxville.
Yes.
So
go Blue Bullets.
Yeah. So let me ask you, do you think that growing up in a small town, was had any influence on the person that you are and kind of helped shape you either personally or professionally?
I think so. I mean, you're in a small town, so you kind of, everybody knows you. So, I have to behave myself. I can't just go and hide somewhere because then people will notice. I've grew up a standard family. Both my parents still together. Worked at a grocery store for many, many years. Was very involved in music. And didn't mess around because I knew I would get caught because it's a small town. So I think that has kind of stuck with me, working hard and paying attention to your surroundings, knowing when somebody needs help. These are all things I think rooted with my upbringing within a small town. Yeah.
Well, you had this musical inclination, this love of music. Was that fostered by your parents? Where did that come from? Were they musicians at all?
It's weird. No. I mean, my dad always enjoyed listening to music. So that was the start of it, I think. I think he was in choir at some point in his youth, but got in trouble or something. I don't really know the whole story there. My mom was not a musician at all. The typical we'll sing to the car radio kind of thing. So I don't know where it came from. I just know that it stimulates me. It is something that is a part of my life, and will continue to be a part of my life. So started actually prior to moving to Knoxville, I was for a total of like 11 months or something. We were in the town of Forsyth, Illinois, which is right next to Decatur. And that's where I picked up trumpet. And then when I moved on into Knoxville, I was able to, in 8th grade, be in the high school jazz band.
Nice.
And at that point, then it was just, okay, I'm done. This is the coolest thing ever. So yeah, again, music's really what kept me going throughout my high school years. I had a lot of difficulty with grades and whatnot, and music is what kept me going. So yeah.
And you know what's really neat about that, Phil, is you can see over an extended period of time how music has sort of been this river that's brought you to where you are. Even though you do television production and that's a major part of your job, but how it's evolved now to where you've gotten into teaching. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but you know, how important music has been sort of as a muse within your own life and directed to where you are. It's remarkable.
Thank you. Yeah. It's, I'm at a place now, and like you said, we'll probably talk about this later. I'm at a place now where I am able to implement my two favorites, you know, the music side of things and the video and the being creative within video, and then just the explosion of the two. I mean, I just, it's the best thing ever. It really is. Like it's not a job, you know, it is, but it feels good.
Good.
You know? So
to our benefit too. So let's talk about, how did you get to WIU? And as we kind of alluded to already, you were not a broadcasting major. You started out music business.
Right. Yeah. So if we go back a little further, of course, music is what brought me to Western. I was one of those band camp kids. Loved every second of it. I always was super pumped come June to come and visit the Macomb campus to be a part of camp. And that's when I was like, well, what the heck do I want to do, right? With my life after I graduate. Dale Hopper, the late great Dale Hopper, is who recruited me to come to Western for college. And yeah, as you said, I was a music business. I wanted to start my own music store, incorporating all the elements, from having practice rooms to selling instruments to, you name it, the whole thing. During my freshman year, I was in marching band, and there was a gal who was one of the trumpet section leaders, and was working for WIUS, which at the time was run through now it's Tri-States Public Radio, but then it was WIUM, WIUW, the public radio station, and asked if I wanted to join in and be a DJ. I was like, that sounds really cool. And that's when I got the bug because again, I get to play music.
Yeah.
Right? And so I got super involved with WIUS, eventually became a student manager, had my own specialty show called Jazz Break.
Nice.
And it was awesome. We had such a great time. It was back then it was on the third floor of this building,
Memorial.
Hall. And man, it was just it was great. So I got burned out pretty badly on the music business side, and switched. Decided to switch to well, at the time it was communication, with an emphasis in radio broadcasting. And that's when I got to meet the other Phil Weiss.
Now, people don't realize this, that there was another, and for a long period of time, it was kind of funny which Phil Weiss are you talked about. But Phil Weiss was one of our academic advisors, the academic advisor for communication, really.
Yeah. And I'll never forget, I'm in my dorm room at over in Thompson Hall, and I get this phone call, because remember back then we didn't have cell phones. You had to rent a brown, remember the brown phones?
Yeah.
You had to rent the brown phone from, I can't remember the name of the entity then. And so my answering machine, another thing you don't ever hear about anymore, had a message, and it was from the other Phil Weiss. And he says, "Phil Weiss, this is Phil Weiss." And he just went into this whole, how excited he was to meet me, and how the first time he ever heard of the other Phil Weiss was he was going to rent a movie at Circus Video. Do you remember Circus Video?
Yes, I do.
And so they were like, "Well, which Phil Weiss are you?" And he was like, what? No, the Phil Weiss. So yeah, so that was the first time I got to meet the other Phil Weiss. And of course he hooked me all up and got me all ready to go with my broadcasting classes. So yeah, so I was on the 5.5 year plan. So yeah,
all right.
Started in 1993 and graduated December of 1998. So yeah.
So what do you remember? What kind of interactions do you remember from faculty, students back in that period of time on broadcasting and on the third floor of Salee Hall?
Well, of course, I remember you. And I think once I was, because I can't remember, I don't remember the time frame of when the department or when broadcasting became its own department. It wasn't during my
stint. It was after, yeah.
So, but I do remember you ended up, I believe you were my advisor.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So of course you, Mike Murray, who I worked with a lot, because, I was doing
audio guy.
And learned a ton from Mike Murray, a ton. In fact, I just found this cassette tape of all of my audio things that I had done. And this first one, it was a radio drama, and I had so much fun doing it. We did a multi-track drama we had to write and produce for Mike Murray. It is the weirdest. That one, and we did this. I did a soundscape.
Yeah.
With the late Mike Yadgar. He has passed away. Man, we did some weird stuff, man. But it was so fun. I had so much. I loved the editing. I got pretty good at analog editing. Had my grease pencil and cutting reels and just having a blast with that stuff. But yeah, so and then I worked quite a bit with Roger Sadler as well. I remembered helping out on the TV side of things. We did what was it? Good Morning Macomb or
Macomb Magazine or
Macomb Magazine, something like that.
Yeah.
And it was in the mornings. and I think it was live.
I'm sure it
if
was.
I
Yeah.
remember.
On Fridays or something. It was some.
Yeah. And it was kind of like a knockoff of like Good Morning America kind of thing. But all awesome experiences. Some of the students, like I haven't thought about in years, are kind of popping in my head right now of some of those folks. And unfortunately, I haven't really kept in contact with a lot of them, other than maybe a few on Facebook, but it's Facebook and it's not real.
It's
So, yeah. So, but man, great hands-on experiences from the get-go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So while you're there, you're also working over at WIUM. You got an opportunity to work at our public radio station.
Mhm.
What kind of things were you doing over there?
So I got hired on, and I was basically working weekends. And it was great. I was not only doing that, I was an RA at the time. So my school was paid off, everything, room and
Nice.
board, and all my school. And again, great experience handling all of the all the pre-recorded programming, making sure all those are being recorded properly on DAT. DAT tapes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Of course, learning the board. And this was a weird time, Buzz, because it was right on that cusp of everything was still super analog.
Yeah.
But some of the digital side was poking its head out. And
right.
So it was a really cool time to be a part of all that stuff. I'll never forget, to make sure that at certain times of the night of your shift, you have to check and make sure that the tower is working properly. And when we checked to see if the tower was working, there was a mirror. So this was on the 4th floor, Memorial Hall, which is actually where I'm currently in. There's a mirror right outside the window. And at that time, that was where the news guys would be. And you'd have to look in that mirror at night to see the reflection and see if the tower lights were blinking.
Oh, okay.
And that's how we made sure that, the lights were working properly and all this stuff. That mirror is still there after all these years.
Huh.
Yeah, it's bizarre. The control, the production room is actually my office now. It's changed quite a bit. But, yeah, it was just, again, just a neat experience, all hands on. That's, and I'll probably say that a lot. I got a lot of hands-on experiences with my time as an undergrad, both in the classroom, with the radio station, with I was also hired on as a student worker for CAIT, which is Center for the Application of Information Technologies, and I got to do sound effects for their CD-ROM projects that they did for I think it was for the state fair.
Huh.
Is when they debuted these things. So again, I got these awesome experiences to do these things, and I think I still, it's sitting on I can't grab it now, on my shelf there. Knowledge is Power is what it was called. The CD-ROM still sitting up there on my shelf. So, yeah.
What I always notice about that, Phil, is that, well, first of all, you're always available. You're willing to be an RA. You're willing to work on the weekends at the radio station. You're willing to take on another campus job. And what I think people hopefully are going to realize is all the time you're proving yourself as a reliable and productive young person to adults who then at some point in time are going to make a recommendation and maybe help you out. And that's part of the importance of networking and really, why it's important to start to, get a little, get your feet wet and find out what it's like to do what you want to do for the rest of, your career.
Absolutely. And I think part of, I mentioned it briefly, school was very hard for me in high school and in college too. I struggled a lot, and because, as I hope I've kind of stated within all of my little stories here, I'm a very hands-on individual, and that was my way to prove myself that I am capable.
Yeah,
and there are a lot of people like me out there.
Yes.
And I think a lot of folks get frustrated with themselves, and which of course I did myself. But you just got to keep pushing yourself and prove. I mean, I don't know. I guess I was proving not only to myself but to others that I am, again, like, I'm capable of handling these things. And by doing all of this stuff, it also forced me to be more organized, which I know is something that a lot of people struggle. By having a very full plate, I would make myself have my lists, to make sure I get the list done, my daily tasks. Yeah.
Well, and I hope young people that listen to this understand that we all have different strengths, and that's good, to have sort of diversity and have different abilities in different areas. And it's okay to work and to celebrate and to have those, at the forefront. Sometimes I think we get too critical about the things that we can't do, about our weaknesses. And what you were doing is saying, this is where I can contribute. I have a great work ethic. I have the ability, if I have the opportunity to be hands-on, I can contribute. I have value. And you were proving yourself time and time again. And I think that's what was really remarkable about your story.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So did you meet Gretchen while you were undergrad, or how did you?
I did.
Let's hear that story.
Oh, goodness. I got to tell it right, or she'll get angry with me. No, she wouldn't get angry with me. So yeah, again, I mentioned earlier, I was living in Thompson Hall as an RA, and my co-RA, I think I was, floor 15 at the time. Is that right? She might. It doesn't matter. We were having a floor meeting together, and I had noticed. I'll back up a little bit. I'm sorry. I had noticed Gretchen. She was working in the mailroom and at the front desk and stuff, and being my corny self. Hey, check it out. Hey, do a nice job with the mail there. Oh, geez, Louise.
Player.
Yeah, it's really bad flirting. And so, I had noticed Gretchen, and we had a floor meeting or project together, and not very many of my residents showed up, and very few of her floor or her residents came. And so we all ended up somehow in my room, and there were like 5 of us or 6, I don't know. And of course, then Gretchen noticed all of my cassette tapes and a lot of my jazz cassette tapes. And she's, oh, hey, these are really cool. Can I borrow some of these tapes? I said, oh, absolutely. I was like, wow, this gal likes jazz. She's a keeper. Well, lo and behold, I find out that was all a lie. She really didn't like the jazz. It was all her way of trying to get to know me better. So anyway, so yeah, so that's how it all started. I remember the first night we hung out. After that, we stayed up like all night just talking about music and all that. I mean, it just blossomed from there. And gosh, now we got married in, let's see, 99. So yeah, 20, how many, I was never very good with math, Buzz. 20 some years later, 20 years later, we're together and have two beautiful daughters. My oldest is a sophomore here at Western, music therapy for her major. My youngest is a junior at the high school and also very involved with music and theater and all that stuff. And
see how that music theme just keeps going through your life?
It really does, Buzz. It's I tell you, it's like if I had a huge tattoo, I mean, it would be like that would be part of on my body, permanently. It's a reoccurring theme. Absolutely.
So when you graduate from WIU, how did you get hired on at the university? In what capacity?
Sure. Yeah. So, like I said, I graduated December, which is kind of a weird time,
Yeah.
right? It's a weird time for graduates, half through the year, getting ready to start a new year, da, da, da. So for a brief stint, US Cellular came to Macomb for the first time and had a kiosk in Gumbart's up on the square.
Wow.
And I got hired on to sell US Cellular phone plans, and realized real quick that was not for me. And I got luckily hired on with CAIT to be a part of Satellite Education Network, which is a division of, which is what we currently are now, University Television. So I was on month-to-month contract for a year or two.
Wow.
And as an assistant to the producer directors at the time. And Buzz, I mean, it just grew from there. I was production coordinator for a long time. I've seen,
not unusual, just to have something happen during a podcast episode.
My alarm decided to go kick off. My weather alarm. Hang on, let me shut that off.
Yeah.
My apologies.
No problem.
Got to know when the weather's bad, even though the sun is shining right now. Oh, goodness. Where was I? Yeah, so I was a producer or a production coordinator for a long time. Saw a lot of changes over the years within our department. Like I said, we were part of CAIT, which was under the College of Education and Human Services. And then we got moved under the library, which was for like about a year, maybe. And then we were under COFAC.
Yeah.
For a good stint. if I remember correctly. And then finally to our current home, which is under the president directly, under university relations, which they just changed their name, and I cannot now remember what that is. Like it just happened this week.
Yeah, and it will probably change again. So there's no.
There'll always be university relations to me.
Yeah.
So seeing a lot of people come and go. I'm now the old guy in the department, which is kind of scary.
Yeah. Well, whenever I talk to one of my former students and they say I'm a senior, and I always stop them there and I think there's no way you are a senior, because then what does it make me? Grandfather?
Right. Right. I know. Buzz, these kids they stay the same age. We're the ones. I don't like it. I don't like it, Buzz.
Yeah. So Phil, over the years, let's talk about some of the things that you've handled under university television. You've had an opportunity to see some interesting people because you are behind the camera or you're involved in the production. What are some memorable people that you've encountered?
Oh, well, real quick, some folks that come to mind, Barack Obama. He came to Macomb.
Yeah.
When he was still running for senator.
That's right.
Joe Biden, when he was running for president, saw him in the Quad Cities. We were up there doing a shoot at the Figgy, and we're going to go eat or something. Well, there's Joe Biden. Okay, that's cool. Nikki Giovanni, famous author, poet. She came to Western to speak. Gandhi's grandson, got to do an interview with him. Tons of musicians over the years, famous to me, just because of in the jazz field. Some amazing musicians have come through here, and I know I'm missing folks. I know I am.
It gives an idea to somebody that you're not just stuck in your building, that you have. Even though, which is amazing, you guys will go out to different locations, and especially pre-pandemic, you were everywhere, to record a lecture or to have somebody that was a visiting person that was on campus.
This position that I've held for so long has really given me a lot of opportunities. Travel. Oh my gosh. I've been to Washington, D.C. I've been to New Orleans, New York City. I've been to Brazil twice. All of these are because of what I do here, and boy, I'm so thankful I get to have these opportunities. It's and soon I'm going to be going to Hawaii. Again, another opportunity because of the position that I'm in here, being able to help out the different departments on campus and I guess to make them look good. And
you do, absolutely. You're working. Yeah, and that's what I want people to understand. You are a working production person. I mean, you're there because they see your value. They want to have some documentation that you are going to help them publicize or document what's going on, which is a great value to them and to the university. And so, Phil, when you're doing that, let me ask you: is it hard for you to get separated sometimes whenever you go someplace, or your mind doesn't shut off from thinking of how I can tell this story visually.
It's I'm constantly on, it seems like. It's it gets a bit much.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I've learned to kind of live with it. I've been doing it for 23 years. So, but yeah, I'm always thinking of new ways to promote whatever that may be, depending on the project I'm working on that day. Well, I mean, we can use our latest project we're working on together, Buzz. We're looking at doing some student testimonials for the college as a whole. And in fact, right over, I mean, it's one of the things that I'm currently working on. And so when we start having the conversation about, then all of a sudden I'm going 100 miles an hour. You can't stop me.
And what was amazing about that on the shoot, because I stopped by to see how it was going, and you have it just perfectly lit. You have background behind the person. You have the audio just right. You have it framed in a particular. You visually have figured it out, which is, I think, the what I hope that somebody that likes to do that. It's like solving puzzles, I think, in some ways, is to see things and say, I can see how that should be put together.
Well, and it all stems to being taught, right, how to do that stuff. So kudos to the department, right? Of course, years of doing this, 23 years, and the ease. Oh my gosh, the ease of doing these things now compared to 15 years ago, unbelievably, so much more simpler. The gear, lighter.
You didn't have to transfer from tape to a computer. Yeah, or from tape to tape.
I'll never forget. I mean, I'm on these shoots when I'm on the contract, when I was still on month-to-month contract. We'd be on these shoots, and the gear, we'd have to have a huge amount of gear. We did, of course, a lot because we were part of the College of Ed then. A lot of in the classroom. We always joked around, oh, you got kids behind computers, you got, teachers talking. Oh, we got it. We got all, I mean, it was nonstop. But we'd have these huge cameras, whether it was beta or 3/4, on these, and then we'd have them them attached. We had these big carts for the decks, right? For the record decks that would only record like 20 minutes, and then you'd have all this audio, and then you'd have to, triple the amount of lighting, because the cameras then were, you're shooting on tape. It was horrendous. And now, I mean, I tease because it's the same principles, but the kids have it good now.
Yes, they do.
They really do. It's a little simpler, but I mean, they still work hard. Absolutely.
So one of the really important things that happened over the pandemic was we needed to provide safe ways of communicating to the public. We needed to provide our programming in safe ways. And you had already started into the idea of working with the COFAC Recital Hall on live streaming. And when I think back now, how we got into that and how now it has become so important for everyone to have this as an option. This area that you kind of, and I don't know how you got into it, Phil, but we're glad that you did, has become another part of your journey.
Yeah, it's 2018, 2019, the conversations were really being discussed regarding what we can do to get out of that mentality of, hey, we're a university in the middle of a cornfield and we have a hard time recruiting and showing off our talent. And I can't remember what year it was. I know the broadcasting department got involved early on and provided one camera
Yeah.
to start doing these live streams for the School of Music. And then I started chatting with John Cooper. And John and I, like, okay, these are the things. And we were so lucky to have administration willing to listen and understand the importance and thinking about the future. And at the time, Tammy Walker was the director of the School of Music, and we explained to her what we were thinking. You know, we want to provide a multi-camera system that will showcase all of the amazing talent that these students are oozing out of themselves, and to show them off. And they loved it, and we were able to come up with the money, and now we have a facility that has let's see, we got 5 cameras that are all remote, remote control. We use what's called Wirecast for the live streaming, which gives us a lot of options within that, where we could do lower thirds. We can incorporate commercials and promos like during intermission, right? We are installed Blackmagic. I'm a big fan of Blackmagic for their switcher, and then got that set up, and then boom, we're in a pandemic, and it was like the perfect storm.
Mm-hmm. We were in the ark.
Yeah, and to included in that is I put together a curriculum to teach music business students this equipment. And again, first year we taught it, 2020, right during the pandemic.
Yeah.
It's doing exactly what we envisioned. To be totally truthful, Buzz, it really should be a full-time job. So juggling between my actual full-time job and all the things that we are doing over there in the recital hall could be a challenge at times.
I can believe it, Phil, because I can, as I've said before, I think that especially with our students in broadcasting, but also within the fine arts, I try to tell them early on that when people find out about their talents and their abilities, everybody wants to have them on their team. And so I think every conversation within the last, I'd say, year and a half has started with, oh, maybe we can ask Phil Weiss. So let me ask you, how do you like that type of popularity? Is it hard? I mean, because everybody wants, is it hard to say no?
It is. It's very hard for me to say no. And that is something I struggle with to this day, saying no, because I love the university. I want it to succeed. And if there's any little bit I can do to help that, I want to do that.
Yep. I'm right there with you.
But man, yes, it is. There are times where I'm sure Gretchen is like, oh my God, Phil.
Just say no.
Right.
So,
Right.
so let's move to something that is a joy in your life. Besides your family, I know that you're also still involved with music, as we talked about. You still get to be a musician, and one of the things that you get to participate in is the Post Six Big Band.
Yeah.
And you are a founding member of that.
I am yes. So another John Cooper, Phil Weiss collaboration. Yeah, we talked about this for multiple years. Oh, we should put a community big band together. I think it would do really well. And finally, I think we're in this is our third year. I think our third year. It's been an absolute joy. We started with basically nothing, and have, because of donations from the community, and we supply everything. Like, everything is there. Like, so the musicians, they just show up with their horn or their bass or whatever, and they play. So we're a reading band. We do not rehearse. Sometimes it's very apparent. And we meet once a month at the American Legion, which is why we call ourselves the Post Six Big Band, because it's the American Legion Macomb Post Six. And we just have fun with it,
and the community loves it.
And the community really does love it. I know that the next thing on our agenda we'd love to see down the road is we want to go on tour and visit other American Legions within the region. So I think that's something that could happen within the next year or so, especially with now that John is going to be retiring at the end of this academic year, which I would love to. I think that would be awesome. So we can have the whole live music outlet available for others that aren't so fortunate. Macomb's a small town, but man, we offer a lot of big city events, like live music with like Post Six Big Band. So yeah, so I try to be involved within the community, not only the Post Six thing, but I'm on the Macomb Park Board. I have been for multiple years now. I'm the park board president, so I really enjoy being involved in the different projects, and again, to help our community as a whole. I do, trying to think, still very involved with events at the Macomb School District. In fact, coming up in the next couple of weeks, I am doing the audio for the junior high and the senior high plays. I do what I can to give back to this community that I truly love.
So it all goes back, I think, in some ways to the young Phil Weiss working at the Knoxville grocery store and realizing he is part of a community in some ways. So let's kind of throw our last question towards the idea, if you could go back in time and talk to that young Phil Weiss about, what kind of recommendations you would have to a young person that might be interested in following a similar path. What kind of things might you say to young Phil Weiss?
Well, I always have like three things that I like to tell students. Is of course, number one, you got to be organized. You have to, especially now more than ever. It's so easy. You can just pull out your phone and type in right on the calendar app. I got this going on, right? Being organized makes a huge amount of difference and almost a calming effect, because it's easy to get overwhelmed, especially in this day and age, right?
Yeah.
With the pandemic and, it's not hard to start feeling overwhelmed. Another thing, getting involved. I started that right from the right from the start. Like you had said earlier, it helps you learn your craft, but it also helps you get to meet people, networking, right? And then the third thing I always mention is have fun. Have fun with whatever project comes your way, right? If you're not, yes, some things are a drag.
Mm-hmm.
I get that a lot, but I always try to find the fun in it, because if you don't, you're going to drive yourself nuts and you're going to be miserable. Life does not need to be a chore, right? So those are my three big things that I try to get out there to students, just to let them know, yeah, those are great. But and then I guess there's a fourth thing, is, you can have fun and whatnot, but keep your, don't screw up too much, because you're, again, that whole, like I said earlier, they're the small town. They're going to know, you're going to know that you messed up, and there's consequences to that. Right. So I guess that I still, as we mentioned earlier, I have a hard time saying no. These are things that is definitely something I'm still working on. So you don't want to get so involved, right, that you just throw your hands up, and you can't do that. So.
Well, I'm glad that you said yes to the podcast, and because it's been great sharing your story first, Phil. And then the other thing, which I have to acknowledge publicly, that when I came up with this idea of the podcast, and from talking with another alum, and to make it operational, I went to you, of course, because I was like, Phil, I've got this idea. This is what I want to do. And you said, I can help in the usual way that you do. You said, I can help, which I'll always be grateful for, because you allowed and helped me pave this road that was new for me. And I am so appreciative.
Oh, absolutely. Well, again, it's about promoting the university, right? It's about, that bleeding that purple and gold. I want to make sure you succeed, and that the stories get out there to hopefully encourage and folks to want to look into who we are and what we do around these parts. So absolutely.
Well, I'll just say, for the university community, we are glad to have you on our team, Phil Weiss.
Thank you. Appreciate that very much.
And thanks to all the people for watching today's podcast. If you are interested in being a guest on the podcast, or know somebody that might be, you can always just email me. We want to hear from our alums, and we also want you to continue to watch, listen, and support our departments and the university in general. So until next week, stay safe, take care, and God bless.